Hello everyone, my name is Giraton and welcome back to B.B.T.A. And today, we're just gonna do a little bit of a fun video. Uh, we're just gonna go through a bunch of Bakugan cards and just say why I like them. This is gonna be a bit of a ramble video. So you're here on the Bakugan wiki, it's a pretty good resource for all this stuff. And I've got a bunch of tabs open of just a whole bunch of Bakugan action cards. I have specifically just picked actions for this video. I might do some further parts where I cover other card types. But we're going to be going through all the factions and all the cards I like from it. Except for Aurelis, I don't pick any cards for Aurelis. But I don't think there was any cards in Aurelis I actually like, bar like one? Yeah, there's that new one that allows you to like draw a bunch of cards from the top of your deck for having a certain condition met. Anyway, already forgotten the title of this series, but hey, it'll be in the video title, so you guys can read that. It's absolutely a fantastic title that I did not come up with whatsoever. That was someone else. So yeah, we're gonna start off with Stoneblade here. Stoneblade is a fantastic Ventus card. You get +2 damage for one. That's pretty standard. Though I don't think there's another Ventus card that gives damage for one cost. That gives damage, not takes away damage. So yeah, not entirely sure if that's the case. Either way, Stoneblade is a fantastic card, not because it's one cost for +2 damage, but because it's one cost that, if you're holding a Green Fist, is an Energize. The 2 damage part is just a bonus. This is a fantastic card for Ventus because, well, it's probably Ventus's second most efficient way to get energy going, other than like a Bakugan that was never released, because there's like an Evo that's like really bloody good for for energizing, and they just never released the Bakugan for it. But in the meantime, Stoneblade is a fantastic card for that. There might be like another card, another like action or something that gives energy that's really good, and then of course there's Winton. But Stoneblade is just really solid, and I like it a lot. Next up we got Toxify. This is a 0 cost for -3 damage. I have a surprising affection for just minus damage cards. This mostly just comes from the fact that early on it was actually more efficient to play minus damage cards than it was to play flips, because it was a lot more reliable. And Toxify is just 0 cost to do a pretty decent chunk of damage reduction. Could save your ass pretty early on. And it's 0 cost. I like 0 cost cards in this game for some reason. I don't know why. I don't like the cards that could be played for free. I like the cards that are 0 cost. Probably just because I'm a Fury player, I don't know. I will note that I didn't actually pick up any dual faction cards for this list. Mostly because just how this thing was sorted, I didn't pick any up. There's quite a few dual faction cards that I like that were like Pyrus and Darkus, but I don't think there's many I like that it's in any other faction combos, so you're not really missing much. So yeah, that's Toxify. It's not necessarily a good card, especially now, but I like the 0 cost -3. It was surprisingly good back then. In the first and I think second set. I think it was okay in the second set as a resurgence. Next up we have, well, Ventus's best card, or at least it was until I think Ventus Cubbo Beam or something like that. It's like a Cubbo Beam or something that's like, I think, Ventus Chaos. That is basically another copy of this, but it could hit anything rather than just non-Ventus or something like that. Either way, it's a really good card, and this is a really good card. So Nature's Power, for 1 cost to give a non-Ventus Bakugan -500B. This literally only bricks if you are up against a mono-Ventus deck. Otherwise, you are going to get use out of this, because -5 for 1, it's a 500 B power difference for 1 cost. That's just stupidly really efficient. Yeah, this is just the best Ventus card, I think. Just period. It's just the best Ventus card. Next up we have Cocoon Shield, and this card never saw any Yeah, okay, it saw a little bit of play in Battle Brawlers format, but past that, it just didn't do anything. I just like it because just what it does. It's 3 cost, and a Bakugan speed power becomes 1,000. I think as the power creep goes up, this surprisingly becomes like more and more of a heavy counter to pretty good decks, because you just have like, you've got your own Bakugan that starts off pretty high B power, and then your opponent plays probably higher B power Bakugan, but sending them back down to 1,000 might actually be really, really good as the power creep goes up. So, I don't know, maybe we might see Cocoon Shield return. It's the sort of card that's just, you can't really ignore it. You can't really use it right now, but you can't really ever ignore it, because it's always going to be there. It's always going to just be taunting the game with just, this could potentially be good. And I kind of like cards like that, because they just threaten being relevant. And actually, yeah, I didn't put this card into the actual thing, but One with Nature is another card I like. It's 2 costs to energize an opposing hero. And basically that was another card like Cocoon Shield where it just threatens being really, really good. Though it's also like much more commonly used because it's a really efficient hero removal. But the reason why it just constantly threatens being really, really relevant is because it ignores anti-destruction clauses, because it energizes, it doesn't destroy. So cards like that are really important to keep an eye on. We're moving on to Aquos now. Here we have Tides. This card has been probably the most efficient Aquos B power boosting card for like a while. I think there's like sync combos that sort of make Tides no longer completely relevant. I'm not really sure. I haven't really looked into the sync deck all that much. I haven't really looked at the game in several months, so because I haven't really had a reason to. The reason why you haven't seen Bakugan content much on the channel is because I haven't been able to play. I have had no one to play with, and just no reason to buy new cards or buy new toys or anything like that. So it's been pretty stagnant on the Bakugan side of things for me. But Tides, really, really like this card. It's just 1 cost, +4 if you flow it. And it's pretty easy to flow it. So, yeah. Okay. Next up we have Wave Slash. It's 3 cost, +300B, and if you flow, +10,000. This wasn't as good as Tides, but it always found a way into a lot of decks, just because 3 cost for +10 is still pretty damn efficient. But that 3 cost did mean it was a lot more limited, and often its space would be taken up by other cards. But I don't know, it's still a good card. Just a little like thing on this website. Like sometimes some of these set 1 cards just have this included in section, but a lot of the set 1 cards don't, and certainly none of the other cards that appear in any other set. I just think that's a little odd. They're not even all that accurate, actually. I think someone added that back in the day and was just not very consistent with it. They sort of like just did it one day and then just forgot about it. Hurricane Winds is another card that I really, really like in Aquos. It is 3 cost. It is a +300B, and you may play an action card that costs 4 or less for free. You're gonna see this a lot in this video, but I really like cards that enable other cards. And this is a perfect example of that. You just get to play another card that's 4 energy or less for free. That could be a Wave Slash. And then you're suddenly getting +13 for 3. That's pretty damn good. Hurricane Winds doesn't see an awful lot of play, but when it does see play, it's really good. So, I don't know. I really like Hurricane Winds because it's the card that enables other cards. I just like those sort of cards. We're moving on to Chaos now. Don't have too many for each faction. This list was sort of just cobbled together with cards that I recognize. Cute Apocalypse is 4 cost for +500B, and if you have Domination, which is if your Bakugan holds the most Bakugans, you get to draw 3 cards. A lot of Chaos decks, especially early on, use this just as a late game resource, gaining back resources and card advantage, because often by the time you can play Cutepocalypse, you're probably running low on hand, and the 500B power boost is not terrible. It's not amazing for 4 costs, but when you're drawing 3 cards on top of that, and you already have, like, Domination, you probably have a bunch of combos going on, it wasn't bad. I think it's gone out of fashion just to being too slow, because the game is just extremely fast, but Cutepocalypse still has a place in a few decks that just want that 3 card draw, and sometimes the 500B power is just enough. So, yeah, Cutepocalypse. Divine Intervention. This is one of those cards that just enables other cards. It's 4 cost, and you must reroll your Bakugan, and if you open, you get to play a Bakugan's Evo card for free. There was a card that was, I'm gonna say leaked just a few days ago. That is 10 cost and can delete your opponent's entire energy energy pile. So Divine Intervention is definitely going to be important for that. Otherwise, it's important for Maximus Dragonoid and a few other strange combos. And I just like that Divine Intervention is here just to make that those really silly but powerful cards just a little bit more relevant. Of course, it is 4 cost, so you can't really use it with anything that's not 6 cost. I think Surge, I think, said it was like 7 or something, 7 or higher before this starts being really efficient. That's right. We're trying to beat. It was Super Fuel. We'll see you later as well. You were trying to beat Super Fuel with efficiency, so that doesn't really happen until 7 cost. So Divine Intervention doesn't really become relevant until you start going 7 cost or higher, but it's there, it's really good for that, and of course, you could Super Fuel into Divine Intervention, and if you manage to hit both rerolls, you could get something ridiculous on turn 1. Divine Intervention, folks. Good card. Disguise Him is 1 cost to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them on top of your deck in any order. And Domination, if your Bakugan holds the most Bakugans, draw a card. This was never really considered a great card, but it was always one of those cards that you had to keep your mind on, because technically it's a net 0 if you've got Domination, and it only costs 1. So the effects are there to be really good, but you have to combo it with something else, otherwise it's just not worth the spot in your deck. And a lot of Dan combos really wanted to have this, along with Air Zero. I don't think it was ever a super relevant card outside of, I think it was like there was some silly combos going on, and then there was Dragonoid Maximus. But it's just a card I really like. Mostly because when I would just be completely on a blank on what to put into the deck, I'd just throw in Disguise Him. I just really like the card. Plus, it's like 1 cost, so you can use it in Fury combos. It's just not all that good, and you probably have better things for that. If you're playing Chaos in Fury, that is. I don't know. I just like Disguise Him. It's a fun card. Next up, we have Wayne, destroy an Evo that was not played this turn for 2 cost. This is just a really helpful card in Chaos, and sometimes just swings the game in really ridiculous ways. Although I do tend to use it in decks that don't really have a lot of Evos, or no Evos at all when I'm happen to be playing Chaos, because Wayne is just a good swing against those other decks that do use Evos, because you're not really good on the late game if you're not running Evos, and your opponent is. And Wayne can just really help bring the game back into your power level compared to your opponent. So this is a helpful card. It's a nice little card to have in Chaos decks. It's not a requirement, and if you're running Evos yourself, you probably don't need it. But it's a good option for Chaos decks that don't really want to run Evos. I think I've run this in Fury a few times for that exact reason. there's videos on the channel of me using this because I wasn't really sure what else to use, and then people were like, "Well, you're gonna have a real problem in the late game. You may as well have Wayne to deal with that." And they were right. It's a little bit of a tricky card to use because you can't use it on an Evo that was played that turn. But it does help in those really tight situations where if you're an aggro deck and your opponent is starting to really take the game into their pace, this can swing it back in your favor just a tiny bit. Light's Courage, very simple staple for Hails decks. It's 2 cost, plus 400B, and you get 8 instead if you have Domination. Yeah, this is just a really good Hails card, and has, I believe it still sees play in decks just because it's 2 cost for plus 8. And it's pretty damn easy to get that plus 8. It's just a good card. There's not much to say here. So let's just move on to the next one. Mega Punch! This card just got better and better as the game went on, and I don't know how. Despite everything else about Green Fist just going straight into the bin once the power creep really packed out for Fire Fists and Magic Shields. You attach a Green Fist from your field to an open Bakugan for 1 cost. Now, initially this was just, hey, you're playing a Green Fist deck, this just enables more Green Fist stuff. You may as well use it. These days, you could spam these onto core reduction cores. Bakugear cost reduction cores. Blah, blah, blah. Keeping that in. You can use this to stack up those Battle Gear reduction cores, and then obviously you're going from -2 to the cost to -4 to the cost, and each and every single one counts for every single Battle Gear you play. So that's just ridiculous, real quick. So yeah, Mega Punch just. This is basically the core to any Battle Gear spam deck, which is surprising, because you just look at this card and you think, oh, that's just Green Fist support, and it's like, no, this is Bakugear support, and I just find that extremely funny. Plus, I just like Mega Punch from back when it was just Green Fist support. It was surprisingly solid for that. We're moving on to Darkus, and here we have Curse of Darkus. It is 2 costs for -2 damage, but if you sacrifice, -10 instead. This is, going back to Toxify, this was just a card that I really liked for being damage reduction, back when damage reduction was pretty damn important. This card is very little relevancy these days. So it's no longer a card I use, but it's always a card I like, especially if Sacrifice ever becomes, like, not Sacrifice, but the cards that trigger on this card ever become relevant, this card might become relevant again, but I put that pretty low on the likeliness factor, especially since this is what you do to slow down your opponent's game plan, not to advance your own. There are better Darkus cards for that. Zark Fortune is up next, and it's 3 costs, and you search a deck for an Evo card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. It's the only Evo search in the game. And sometimes you need that. For very particular decks that extremely rely on Evos, this is just an extra 3 copies of your Evo. It's slow, because it is 3 cost, and it doesn't play the Evo straight to the field. I feel like they could release like a 5 cost version that just does, no. I'll have to have, like, if it's, like, 5 cost or less clause or something, they could release, like, a 5 cost version of Dark Fortune that just plays it to the field. That would be fun. Because then it's just an extra 3 copies of the card in your deck. But Dark Fortune is just very important for very particular decks. And just like a Divine Intervention, this can be important and enable stuff that otherwise would have trouble being played. That being said, I rarely find room for this thing, even in the decks that kinda want it. So it's a hard card to play. Shade Blade, 0 cost, plus 2 damage. That's all it is. That's all it needs to be. I like this for Fury. Is there anything else to say? I don't think there is. Garganoids Gaze! 2 cost, destroy hero with 4 energy, with cost 4 energy or less. This is just the best hero removal in the game, and it still is. So yeah, play it. If you want hero removal, play it. I don't think heroes heroes might be extremely relevant in a bit. There's some cards that are coming out in the next set that are really want the heroes that support them. Garganoids Gaze is just really good at clearing nearly every important hero in the game by like a very small number. And yeah, it's just a good card. It's a good card. Shadow Dogs. I'm pretty sure this is the only card I've put in. No, I've got Chaotic Darkness in here. I'm not a massive fan of hand discard to the opponent, personally. Not a massive fan. I've tried building a few decks on it. It has some really weird gameplay to it when you're actually playing it. I actually kind of like that. I don't like hand discard in other games. In Bakugan, it's surprisingly okay, just because of how it ends up playing. Shadow Dogs is really good for that. 4 cost, you must reroll your Bakugan, but if you open on the reroll, you gain plus 400B, and victor, your opponent must discard 2 cards. If you have managed to be controlling your opponent pretty damn well, by discarding a hand and stuff, that 400B can just be enough to win the fight. And then if you win, your opponent probably has no cards in hand, because they will have to discard the last 1 or 2 in their hands. So yeah, Shadow Dogs is really good for the hand discard deck. And I just like that that's like a combo thing. Like, you have to reroll, but you get the 400B and your opponent discards 2 cards. Pretty damn good. You do still have to win the fight. That's the little bit of the tricky part of this card. But sometimes it works. I like it. Just note, for this list, not every single card in this game, not every single card in this list is good. I don't think that you should be playing all these. These are just ones I have personal, like, pet likes to. Darkest Glare is a new one for me. And that's mostly because this is Curse of Darkest, but cheaper and enabled on Fusion. Meaning I'm keeping an eye on this card because if the Fusion deck, if Fusion decks get anywhere, this could be really good. Because it is 1 cost for -8 in your opponent. That could be huge if you've got like a Might of Sindius, Mac sort of playstyle, or even just, this is 1 cost, slow to your opponent down. This might be just like a really good play on the first turn if you're a Fusion deck and just need a little bit more setup. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on this card. This one's very new. In fact, Shielded Destroyer, geez, that's not even the next set. That's the set after. Oh boy. But I am extremely interested in this card. So I want to see where the Fusion deck goes, and I want to see if this is relevant. I just like it because it's Curse of Darkest, but slightly different. Baku Spring is 1 cost for Shadow Strike and draw a card. No, I don't have a huge thing to Shadow Strike. I don't have a huge thing to anything that this does. But it fits just the right niche that that some decks need. That Baku Spring is just really good. And I just like this card because it's just good enough in the right way to be relevant. And you can use it with Helix Cores if you really want to mitigate downsides and be really silly that way. Yeah. Funny card. Kind of like it. Chaotic Darkness is next. It is 1 cost and choose a player to discard a card. Yeah. I forget the cards I was like applying this to compared to other things. But this was when I was playing the hand discard deck. And I was testing it out, mostly for my partner. This card was really good. It is a 1-for-1. Like, it's 1 cost, you're getting the downside of spending one of your energy, and then you're spending the card from your hand, and then your opponent discards a card. This doesn't give you any direct benefit. It's technically a minus just because of the energy cost. But because it's so fast and can just be the slight edge you have in the hand discard fight, I surprisingly like this card. Plus, it's a neat little thing you can do in Fury decks. I don't recommend it, but it is a thing you can do, and it is funny when you do it. And can surprisingly make games out of nowhere for no good reason, because your opponent is suddenly going, oh, I had all these cards that I was going to use for a strategy, and then it just broke because I lost one of those cards. Yeah, this is a funny card, and I just like it for exactly what it does. Umbral Slash is a card I have never used. I don't think I ever will use it. But damn it, does it make me want to build a deck around it. Plus 100 BE for each flip card in your discard pile. It's so stupid. But it looks like it's good. It's so close to looking like it's good. But it just isn't. Because it's 2 cost for a potential unlimited amount of B power. But you never play enough flips for it to be relevant. If you are playing enough flips for it to be relevant, then you're being a dumbass because the rest of your deck is you're just running bricks. This is a bad card that I like. I'll never use it. This is an example of exactly why I'm making this video, and it's just being a bit of a rant in exactly the format I am making it in. Thunderstorm is plus 200B and sacrifice to discard a card and reroll your Bakugan. This is really, really good for Fury. Really, really good, because it is a straight reroll. Even though you're running Fury, you've got Quickfire and Super Fuel as your main rerolls. Thunderstorm just advances your Fury plays while giving you a B power boost. And the reroll is optional, so if you just need a 1 cost for plus 200B, that works. If you need a reroll, you can discard a card from your hand, probably advancing your Fury plays. Really good card for Fury. As soon as I saw this card, I was super excited for it. And then we never got Age of Morales down in Australia, so I haven't got it yet. So I haven't had much chance to play it. I should probably try proxying it more, because it looks like a really good card. Aquify is next. Why is this in here and not earlier in the Aquas cards? I don't know. Anyway, Aquify is 1 cost. You swap the Bakugan attached to the Bakugan you rolled this turn and the opposing Bakugan. Built decks around this. I've had fun with this card. Sometimes it just swings the game in your favor because you just get a huge bonus off what is probably your opponent's magic shield, while swapping them into a card that probably doesn't trigger their core matching ability, and then suddenly you just get a huge benefit for 1 cost. Your opponent can then play a reroll to counter it, but they had to do that, and you're still getting the bonus from their core, meaning they might even have to spend another core on the field to do it. So yeah, this is surprisingly good. It could be extreme. It can extremely swing the fight. Don't use it unless you really know what you're doing, though. And you do have to time this very, very right. Otherwise, your opponent just rerolls, gets exactly what they need, and then win anyway. And then your core goes back to the field, and they wasted nothing. So, yeah, good timing is required for Aquify, but could swing the game extremely well. There's more cards here that were meant to be earlier, and I'm really annoyed. Dark Waters is next. 1 cost, plus 200B, and you may re-roll your Bakugan. It's one of the 2 Aquos re-rolls, and this one gives the B power, so I kind of like this more than I think Deep Dive, even though Deep Dive draws you a card. 1 cost to draw a card to re-roll your Bakugan. I just like the cheap re-rolls. They just enable too many things, especially in Pyrus mixed decks. Greater Water Boost is another card that I just like for being an enabler. 0 cost, plus 100B, surprisingly okay in Fury. And this just enables flow. It's not an amazing card anymore, there's much better options, but sometimes it's enough. Okay, we're finally on Pyrus. Anger. 2 cost, plus 300B. If you have no cards in your hand, draw 2 cards. I wish this was in set 1 because, oh boy, I wish I had copies of this. I wish I had more copies of this. I think I have like 1 or 2. But I want more physical copies of this because this is really good. It's just, if you have Fury, draw 2 cards, you're playing Pyrus, so you probably are going to end up in a situation. Pretty much every single Pyrus deck can run this because you're probably going to be spamming a bunch of cards in your hand, and you kind of need ways of getting them back. And if you're not playing Aquos, this is a near requirement. Firewing Blast is 1 cost for +1 damage, but if you're in Fury, +15. Yeah, this is kind of ridiculous when you combo it with Might of Cindeus. So you play down Might of Cindeus, then you play one Firewing Blast. You're probably on Fury because Firewing Blast might have been the last card you played in your hand. Yeah, gotten plus what? 17 damage. Your opponent loses the Might of Cindeus fight, and then takes what's plus. I mean, with most Pyrus Bakugan, you're probably dealing like 5 on base. So that's 22 damage for 3 energy and 2 cards for doing the thing you probably want to be doing in the deck already. Yeah, that's pretty good. It was only 1 cost, so if you need to hit Fury, then you can just pay the 1 cost to get the 1 damage and then do something else. It's a pretty easy card to get out of your hand. Really good damage boost for 1 cost. Sure, you have to be in Fury, but it's 1 cost. Why not use another Fury deck? Again, Age of Aurelis, so I haven't been able to get any good copies of it, but I want it. Inferno Wings! 3 energy for plus 300B, and remove all Bakugan cores from your enemy Bakugan hold, remove all Baku cores enemy Bakugan hold and negate their effects. This is bad. There's a comma there. That's really fucking annoying. Yeah, so you just... This is a swiggy card. This is like Aquify, only the effect is multiplied because it costs more. It's 3 costs, but plus 300B. That 300B power boost isn't going to do much, but removing all your opponent's Baku cores is. If you're up against Chaos, this is really good at denying domination. Because it removes from all your opponent's Bakugan. And that small little advantage of your opponent's on-bench Bakugan losing their cores can be huge. But if your opponent rerolls to this, you're gonna be losing that fight, most likely, because you probably spent 3 energy for something they're gonna do for 0 or 1. And for trying to get a B power swing, that your opponent probably only spent like 0 to 1 energy to get back from. Inferno Wings is a card I really like for being super swingy, but it is a risk to play and to use. Just do keep an eye on it if you do plan on using it. When it works, oh boy does it work, but when it fails, oh boy does it fail. Super Fuel! Yeah, this is in here because it enables other cards. I know that it's probably the most expensive card in the game. Definitely the most expensive card in this list. Sure, it's like a card that is really hard to get 3 copies of. I still only have 1 copy of this physically. But it just enables so much, and I can't hate it. I can't hate it, because it's just so good at enabling stuff. This, with Song of Fire, and you can basically play everything everything you would potentially want to play in a deck. So yeah, Song of Fire is another card I really like, because it enables other cards, and in combination with Super Fuel, play everything you want in your deck on turn 1. And of course that combo is going to enable Fury pretty damn quickly. So yeah. Song of Fire is not an amazing card. Most people will just skip and go just use the Super Fuel, no need to use Song of Fire. But I like this. I like the extension that this just gives, especially as a Fury player. Because I don't care about discarding another card, I'm just gonna make them back with anger. And all the bonuses I get for being in Fury. I like Song of Fire. I really like Super Fuel. And Super Fuel plus Song of Fire, I love. Absolutely. enjoy the hell out of every situation I get that combo in. That's actually the last of them. So thank you for watching this little ramble. I keep looking over here because that's where OBS is, meaning I'm seeing myself talk, where that is the camera and where all the cards are. So I keep looking over here to talk to you guys, even though the camera's over here. That's just a thing I do. Anyway, thank you for watching this little rant. I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna do more of these on Bakugan. And then I'm gonna cover some Beyblade parts I really like. Then I'm gonna cover Digimon cards I really like. And then I might cover other games. I might cover, I don't know, some Warhammer models I really like. I don't know, maybe I'll have like a bit of a nostalgia trip through Buddy Fight and just go through Buddy Fight cards I really like. That might be fun. That might be really fun. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of like just sitting down, looking at cards, just talking about cards I like. This is really fun, and yeah. I have like no script for this, so all these yeps and nuts and s. Yeah, that's entirely because I don't know what to say. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of these videos, these little rants, do subscribe. Like the video if you did, dislike if you didn't. Comment below what are your favorite cards in the Bakugan game. What are your favorite actions specifically? Because we will be covering heroes and other card types later. I don't think I'll be covering Bakugan. Oh, I'll cover Bakugan eventually. Everyone likes favorite Bakugan lists. At least everyone who likes Bakugan does. And even some who aren't really into the franchise, just like seeing cool toys. Yeah. So yeah, hit me with your favorite action cards in the Bakugan TCG. And click on the links in the doobly-doo. I'll see you next time. Garrison out.